Hello, my name is Bradley Butler, and I am the Executive Director and Curator at Main Street Arts in Clifton Springs, New York. Today I'm going to take you on a virtual walkthrough of our current exhibition, Mindscape. This is a solo exhibition by Myung Urso, a Rochester-based artist who is known internationally for her one-of-a-kind jewelry pieces. This exhibition represents a move away from wearable works to painting. Work in this exhibition represents the past 3 years of studio output from Myung. This is a small selection of what she's done in that time, as she is very prolific. Each studio visit, I was met with a new offshoot on a current series or a new series altogether. So it was always an interesting thing going to her studio because I wasn't quite sure, how much work I was going to be looking at. It was always exciting to see. And I'm just going to start giving you an idea of what the show looks like here. All right. The exhibition includes 53 pieces that range in scale, material, and execution, but which all make for a cohesive and interesting body of work. She has employed a reductive and minimalist approach for this exhibition, using raw natural fabric with various inks, acrylic paint, pigment, liquid dye, and paper pulp. So I'll just give you kind of a little overview of the main floor here. The exhibition does also continue in our art resource library on our second floor. And on your way up to see the second part of the exhibition, you can also see an exhibition in our stairwell gallery by Katherine Baca-Bielinis. She's got some great prints in the stairwell. So you can see there's a variety already in this exhibition of some of these dimensional paintings made with paper pulp, and then some of the more minimal pieces on what is a sheer cotton fabric instead of traditional canvas. And what I really appreciate about what Myung has done with these larger pieces is that it kind of changes the way you look at traditional painting on canvas, because you can see right through it into the stretcher bars. So for me, also as a painter, I don't know, it just makes me think about painting as an object and what it means to, work on canvas. And it creates really interesting shadows on some of these pieces against the wall, because you're seeing the light go through the sheer fabric and have the paint or ink that's on the surface kind of projected as a shadow onto the wall. So a little bit about Myung. Myung Urso was born and raised in South Korea and has lived in upstate New York since 2006. Myung's art has been cultivated through her lifelong practice in Korean calligraphy and enhanced by the skills she's developed through her graduate studies in fiber art. From an early age, her extensive exploration in mixed media has played an important role in her creative journey. Before Myung made a shift toward painting, she worked as a jewelry artist for more than 15 years. And during this period, she actively participated in numerous group exhibitions and had 8 solo exhibitions in the United States, China, and Europe. Her sculptural and painterly jewelry works have been collected by several art museums, including Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, the Museum of Art and Design in New York, the Dallas Museum of Art, and the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. Myung received a bachelor's degree in biology and a master's degree in fiber arts from Hongik University in Seoul, South Korea, as well as a master's in museum and gallery management from the City University in London. So we'll come back down and take another look at the main floor, but I just also want to show you the work that's upstairs in the Art Resource Library. And on the way there, we'll see the work of Katherine Baca-Bielinis as well. So on the way there, we'll just talk a little bit about what you'll see from Katherine. Katherine uses a variety of different printmaking techniques, waterless lithography, something called kitchen lithography, which is making a lithographic print with common household materials. She'll be teaching a workshop on that process in July, and you can find information on our website about that. But Katherine is a Rochester-based artist as well, and recently she's been exploring layering her prints on translucent or transparent surfaces to kind of push the print further. So this one here is a 2-plate kitchen lithograph on paper and acetate, so you can kind of see that layering that happens. And one thing that I thought was interesting about these two exhibitions together, you know, the main floor and then also the stairwell gallery, is how they really relate, but also are distinctly different. Obviously, you know, Katherine's work appears very differently than Myung's work, but they're both using, you know, layering and the idea of casting shadows and seeing through one surface to another in their work. So really interesting how that kind of played out. But in Katherine's work, you'll see a lot of architectural elements, something that's been a theme in her work ever since I've known her work. I got to know Katherine when I first started here at Main Street Arts in 2013. So shortly after that, I got to know Katherine a little bit, and also, you know, saw her work for the first time. So, but she uses a variety of different printmaking techniques, a lot of which can be considered non-toxic. Let's see, here's another one with layered acetate, which is much better in person, so recommend seeing both of these shows in person if you can. And this one, a dimensional piece, cut paper. So a lot of different ways of layering, whether it's printing, you know, one on top of another on the same piece of paper or with different layered surfaces. So definitely recommend coming and seeing this great show for yourself. And we'll get another look as we go back downstairs as well. And this is the workshop space where you'll be taking that workshop with Katherine. Sketching press, shameless plug. All right, now into the art resource library, where we've got more of Myung's work. So this appears very different from how the exhibition is downstairs. This one, we have all of the work that is not the sheer cotton fabric. This is a lot of the paper pulp and colorful pieces, some dimensional pieces as well. So there's a few of these downstairs, but up here, these pieces are all done on cedar board, and they are colored paper pulp, kind of collaged together. And some of my favorite pieces of Myung's recent work are these dimensional pieces. I think for me, they really kind of defy, you know, what is a painting and what is a sculpture? Are these both? Are they one or the other? Does that matter? It's really interesting, and I think also drawing comes into play on here as well. These lines really, they just feel like a drawing. They're not really painterly necessarily, they're just line, and I think that that's really interesting when you can kind of call into question, well, what is this thing I'm looking at? Very interesting shapes, and students in our after-school program were making work similar to her dimensional pieces, which was really exciting for them and you know, for us here to see. In the past, we have included Myung's work in other exhibitions here at Main Street Arts, and one of them was an exhibition called Beyond Ornamental, which was a jewelry-focused exhibition in 2019. Also a show in 2022 called Tangible Objects, which featured some soft sculpture, I would say more sculptural than wearable jewelry, but definitely if you're the kind of person that can pull it off, then you could have worn the work that was in that show. But she also included some paper pulp and fabric collages on board, and some of these, while they look different from what was shown, they use a similar technique of laying the paper pulp onto the surface. So I really appreciated the fact that we had so much work to choose from Myung's studio, and we were able to include some of it in the library. So just a few more pieces up here. and it really does create a nice, interesting experience to be able to see almost two different exhibitions by the same artist. The work definitely goes together, but it's just interesting how we can break up this space. And also it brings people up to the library, which is what we always hope for when people come visit. So if you haven't been to the library before, just on the second floor, we have an elevator or stairs. And for each exhibition, we typically pull books that, go along with the main floor exhibition. So, these are some of the books we pulled that kind of reference what Myung is doing in her work, or kind of what goes into the making of her work, or things that she's interested in personally. So, all right, so we will head back downstairs and just look a little bit more at the main floor. And also we can see some more of Katherine's work on the way down. And with Katherine's work too, a lot of this work is different from things we've shown at Main Street Arts in the past from Katherine. I feel like there's some more color that's working its way in that I'm maybe not used to seeing. But I know over the last several years, she's been interested in pushing herself to trying different things with printmaking, the different surfaces and different layering of techniques, and not relying on just one image of like what printmaking can be, pushing it further. So really appreciate that. All right, and back down on the main floor. Take another look around here, and I'm just gonna also share with you Myung's artist statement as we kind of take another peek here at the show. So Myung says, my artwork takes root from my lifelong practice in Korean calligraphy. This art form originates from the power of a strong yet spontaneous brushstroke. Through dedicating myself to the practice of Korean calligraphy for many years, I have been able to gain a means to express freely what inspires me. And this can really be seen in the pieces we're looking at here. These are from the series called Mindscape, which is what the exhibition is titled. She also has a series called Horizon, which is kind of the counterpart to the Mindscape series. But especially in the Mindscape series, you can really see that strong, bold mark left very minimally on the canvas. Definitely shows her personal history of using calligraphy in her work, or using calligraphy. My visual language is derived from simple lines and forms found in nature: the sun, the moon, the earth, and the human body. I consciously and unconsciously consider the spatial effects within a composition to capture a meditative space within each work. My recent minimalistic works are both symbolic and metaphoric, a personal interpretation of the scenic landscape as visual poetry. And you can definitely see, the use of symbolism and metaphor, really visual metaphor in her work, which can be challenging for some people that come to see the show. I think anytime you have work that's a little bit more minimal, something that's maybe a painting but is not necessarily painterly or layered, it kind of really challenges people, and I really appreciate that about Myung's work. Something which, maybe cause people to pause and say, well, what am I looking at? And, what does this mean? And why does it make me feel this way? So I really find that those are the kind of exhibitions that I really appreciate as a curator and a director here, is when it calls into question what people are looking at and makes them think, well, do I consider this to be a painting? Is this what I think of as a painting that I'm typically looking at? Why am I reacting this way? So it's been really interesting to have a whole variety of responses to this work. And I really appreciate Myung for sharing it with us. But I just love the layering of these two pieces, especially using the fabric as almost a wash of paint. And for me, this kind of brings the idea of, what's hidden and what's revealed to people. This piece on the left here. I was actually having a conversation with a young third grader yesterday who stopped by the gallery asking a lot of questions, and he was one that, similarly, he wasn't quite sure what to think of the paintings. He thought that they were really cool, in his words, but didn't quite know what to think of them. So we kind of talked about, use of symbolism, and I said, this is kind of what this makes me think of. That like what we share with people and what we hold back. So seeing that little tip of the dark blue coming through, maybe that's the surface of what we show most people. And then what's hidden is what we don't share with people. And for Myung, with the two main bodies of work here, the Horizon series and the Mindscape series, the Horizon series is what we see on the outside, the serenity and nature, and Mindscape is kind of the chaos of our internal world. And so that kind of comes through and rings true with what I was saying about that piece there. So Myung in her statement continues, pursuing an idea without preliminary sketches leads to an instinctive way of tracing unexpected results. Most often, the working process I adopt is more open, spontaneous, and intuitive rather than manipulated by a preset plan. Exploring and perceiving in the present moment often leads me in unpredictable directions. I give the different compositional and material elements the freedom to interact in unpremeditated ways, helping to define the destiny of each work. And here's a selection of some more dimensional pieces, similar to the ones we saw upstairs. And these, especially the flatter ones, these are the ones that our students were referencing when making their work. Another thing I really appreciated about this exhibition of Myung's work is the installation piece that hangs in the front here. It's called Water, and I'm going to come at it from the other angle here so we can get a real sense of it. And she had this idea for an installation piece and came and measured and used the same fabric that she uses on the paintings to make this free-flowing piece, which references water, a natural element, and something that, the sound, the visual all kind of put us in a meditative state. And the way that when we walk past these, it kind of ripples and references the way that water appears to us. So we have the ink dyeing the lower half of the fabric and kind of coming up and going back down. I just really appreciate the way that, similar to the way that the sheer fabric on the wall, the canvas pieces, you can kind of see through it. That's the same thing that happens here. So you can see through each layer, but also see through to the outside. And then as we walk around it, you see the outside even more, obscuring the piece a little bit, and then you come back around, and then here we are again. So just really an interesting experience, and something that we don't often have, a big kind of installation piece. And I think it's nice to see right in front and center in our window here, people walking by, can see it and interact with it even from the outside. So you can preview this exhibition on our website, mainstreetartscs.org. You can also view photos of the exhibition while you're there. We hope you'll have a chance to come in and see this show for yourself in person. The exhibition runs through Wednesday, July 17th, and we are open Tuesday and Wednesday from 11 to 3, and Thursday through Saturday from 11 to 6. The gallery is closed on July 4th and 5th for the holidays, so just be aware of that. But we do hope we see you soon.